Before we dive into this story that will completely shatter everything you think you know about family, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment and let me know what country you're in. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because you won't want to miss stories like this one. Also, if this story leaves you as shocked as it left me, give it a thumbs up. Trust me, you're going to need something to hold on to for this one. The voicemail came through at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I know the exact time because I was awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the anniversary. March 15th. 37 years since Mom died. 37 years since I watched them lower her casket into the ground at Riverside Cemetery. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me reach for it. One new voicemail. I played it back, expecting a robocall or wrong number. Instead, I heard a voice that stopped my heart cold. Michael, it's me. Don't trust them. Whatever they told you about how I died, it's a lie. Find the real records. Find Dr. Harrison. He knows the truth. They're still watching you, son. Be careful. The voice was older, shakier than I remembered. But it was her. It was my mother's voice. Catherine Walsh, dead at 42 from a heart attack in St. Mary's Hospital. March 15th, 1986. I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school, planning to start college in the fall. But that voice on the phone, that was Mom. I sat up in bed, my hands shaking as I played the message again. Don't trust them. Whatever they told you about how I died, it's a lie. My wife Linda stirred beside me. Michael, what's wrong? Nothing, I whispered. Go back to sleep. But nothing was the last thing this was. I crept downstairs to the kitchen, played the message again with headphones on. The voice was unmistakable, the slight Irish accent she'd never quite lost. The way she said son, with that particular softness she'd reserved just for me. But Mom was dead. I'd seen her body. I'd been at her funeral. I'd visited her grave every year for 37 years, unless I hadn't. The next morning, I called St. Mary's Hospital, asked to speak with someone about medical records from 1986. I'm sorry, sir, but records from that period would be archived. What exactly are you looking for? My mother's death certificate. Catherine Walsh. March 15th, 1986. There was a pause. Let me transfer you to our records department. 20 minutes later, I had an answer that made no sense. Sir, we have no record of a Catherine Walsh dying at this facility on that date. In fact, our records show no deaths on March 15th, 1986 at all. I have her death certificate right here. Could you bring it in? We'd like to verify the document against our records. I hung up the phone and went to the filing cabinet, where I kept all the important papers. Birth certificates, insurance policies, the deed to the house. And there, in a manila folder labeled Mom, was her death certificate. I pulled it out and really looked at it for the first time in years. The official seal looked right. The signatures looked legitimate. St. Mary's Hospital was listed as the place of death. Heart failure was listed as the cause. But something nagged at me. Something about the paper itself felt wrong. I drove to St. Mary's Hospital that afternoon, death certificate in hand. The woman in records was maybe 60, gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, thick glasses that made her eyes look enormous. Mr. Walsh, I've been working here for 30 years, she said, examining the certificate under a magnifying glass. This document has several irregularities. What kind of irregularities? The paper stock is wrong for 1986. The seal is close, but not quite right. And most importantly, this doctor's signature, Dr. Harrison. He's never worked at this hospital. My blood went cold. Are you saying this is a fake? I'm saying this document was not issued by St. Mary's Hospital. And if your mother died here on this date, there would be a record. We keep everything. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot for an hour, trying to process what I'd just learned. The death certificate was fake, The hospital had no record of Mom dying. And last night, someone who sounded exactly like her had left me a voicemail warning me not to trust them. But who was them? I drove to Riverside Cemetery. Mom's grave was exactly where it had always been. Section 12, Plot 47. Catherine Walsh, beloved mother, 1944 to 1986. But now, I had to wonder what was actually buried under that headstone. I found the cemetery office and asked to speak with the manager, an older man with kind eyes and a patient manner. Mr. Walsh, I remember your mother's funeral. I was new here then, just starting out. It was unusual. How? The casket was sealed. No viewing. The family insisted on privacy, and the burial happened very quickly after the death. Sometimes families rush things when they're grieving. But this felt different. Different how? He hesitated. I probably shouldn't say this, but the whole thing felt staged. Like everyone was going through the motions, but nobody was really grieving. Your father, your sister, your uncle. They seemed nervous more than sad. My sister Jenny, my uncle Frank, my father, who'd remarried within a year of Mom's death. Do you still have the burial records? Of course. Give me a moment. He disappeared into a back office and returned with a thick ledger. Here we are. March 18th, 1986. Catherine Walsh. But look at this signature authorizing the burial. He pointed to a signature that looked nothing like any signature I'd ever seen from my family. Who signed for the burial, if not family? Someone named Dr. Harrison. Same name that's on your death certificate. The mysterious Dr. Harrison again. I left the cemetery with more questions than answers. That night, I called my sister Jenny. Michael, it's late. Is everything okay? Jenny, I need to ask you about Mom's death. Silence on the other end of the line. Then why would you want to talk about that? It's been 37 years. Do you remember the funeral? Of course I remember. Why are you asking? Do you remember the casket being closed? No viewing. Another pause, longer this time. Michael, you're scaring me. Why are you digging this up? Because I think there's something we don't know about how Mom died. She had a heart attack. At the hospital. You know this. But what if she didn't? What if the whole thing was fake? The line went dead. Jenny had hung up on me. I tried calling back. Straight to voicemail. That's when I knew something was very wrong. But here's where the story takes a turn that I never saw coming. Because the next morning, I got a call that changed everything. Mr. Walsh, this is Detective Morrison with the FBI. We need to talk. My hands went numb. About what? About your mother. About the voicemail you received 2 nights ago. We've been monitoring the phone number it came from. The FBI had been monitoring Mom's phone calls, which meant they knew she was alive. I think we should meet in person, Detective Morrison said. There are things about your mother's death that you don't understand. Things that could put you in danger. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Detective Morrison was a woman in her 50s. Gray hair. The kind of person who looked like she'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by any of it.
He slid a file across the table to me.
Your mother didn't die in 1986, Michael. She entered the witness protection program. The words hit me like a physical blow.
What?
Catherine Walsh was the key witness in a federal case against the Marconi crime family. She worked as a bookkeeper for one of their front businesses. She discovered they were laundering money through the company, and she came to us. I opened the file. Photos, documents, transcripts of recorded conversations. And there was Mom, younger, scared, talking to FBI agents. The Marconis put out a contract on her life when they found out she was cooperating with us. We had to fake her death to keep her safe. But the funeral, I was there. The casket was weighted with sandbags. Your family was told it was necessary for your safety. If you believed she was dead, you couldn't accidentally give anything away. My family knew. Detective Morrison's expression darkened. Some of them. And here's where I need to pause this story for just a moment.
Audie.
If you're still watching, and you're as shocked as I was sitting in that coffee shop, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This story is about to get even more unbelievable. What do you mean? Some of them. Your father knew. Your Uncle Frank knew. They were both involved with the Marconi family. In peripheral ways. We offered them a deal. Cooperate with the investigation. Help us fake Catherine's death. And they'd avoid prosecution. The coffee shop seemed to tilt around me. My father was involved with organized crime. Small-time stuff. Loan sharking. Some money laundering. Nothing like what Catherine uncovered, but enough that we could have put him away for years. I thought about Dad remarrying so quickly after Mom's death, about how he'd never seemed particularly grief-stricken, about how he'd discouraged me from visiting the grave too often. What about my sister Jenny? Jenny was 18, just like you. We decided it was safer if she didn't know. Children can't keep secrets when their lives depend on it. But I got a voicemail from Mom 2 nights ago. Why would she break cover after 37 years? Detective Morrison leaned forward. Because the last member of the Marconi family just got out of prison. Vincent Marconi. He's been looking for your mother for decades. And he found her. My blood went cold. Is she safe? We don't know. She missed her last check-in with her handler. The voicemail you received came from a burner phone purchased in Philadelphia 3 days ago. We think she's on the run. On the run from who? Vincent Marconi. And possibly from people in your own family. The words hung in the air like poison. What do you mean? Your Uncle Frank has been in contact with Vincent Marconi for the past 6 months. We think he told Vincent where your mother has been living. Uncle Frank. The man who'd taught me how to throw a baseball. Who'd come to every birthday party. Every graduation. Every important moment in my life. Why would he do that? Money. Vincent Marconi offered him $500,000 for information about Catherine's location. I felt sick. So Frank betrayed his own sister for money. It appears that way. And the voicemail. Mom warning me not to trust them. She found out about Frank's betrayal. She's trying to warn you. Because she thinks you might be in danger too. Am I? Detective Morrison was quiet for a long moment. We think Vincent Marconi believes you know where your mother is. If he can't find her directly, he might try to use you to draw her out. I thought about the voicemail again. Don't trust them. Mom had been warning me about my own family. What happens now? Now we try to find your mother before Vincent Marconi does. And we keep you safe while we do it. How do we find her? The voicemail mentioned Dr. Harrison. Do you know who that is? I shook my head. Never heard of him. We think Dr. Harrison might be the person who helped fake your mother's death in 1986. He might know where she'd go if she was in trouble. Detective Morrison pulled out another file. We've identified 3 Dr. Harrisons who worked in the Philadelphia area during the 1980s. One of them died in 1994. One moved to Florida. The third, she slid a photo across the table. An elderly man with white hair and kind eyes. Dr. Robert Harrison. He retired from medicine in 2010. But he still lives in Philadelphia. He worked with us on several witness protection cases in the 80s. I stared at the photo. You think he's helping Mom now? It's possible. Your mother trusted him once. She might trust him again. We drove to Philadelphia that afternoon. Detective Morrison and I, plus 2 other FBI agents in a second car. The drive gave me time to process everything I'd learned. My mother was alive. My father had been involved with the mob, while my uncle was a traitor. My entire life had been built on a lie. But the biggest shock was still coming. Dr. Harrison lived in a modest house, in a quiet neighborhood. Detective Morrison knocked on the door while I waited behind her. An elderly man answered. The same man from the photo, but older, frailer. Dr. Harrison, I'm Detective Morrison, FBI. This is Michael Walsh. We need to talk to you about Catherine Walsh. His face went white. She's dead. Has been for 37 years. No, sir, she's not. And we think you know that. Dr. Harrison looked at me, then at Detective Morrison, then stepped aside to let us in. His living room was tidy but dated, with furniture that looked like it hadn't been replaced since the 1980s. He sat down heavily in a recliner. I wondered when this day would come, he said. Is she here? I asked. Is my mother here? Dr. Harrison was quiet for a long moment. Then she's upstairs. My heart stopped. Upstairs. She's been here for 3 days, ever since she found out about Frank. I stood up on unsteady legs. Can I see her? Dr. Harrison nodded toward the staircase. Second door on the right. But Michael, she's not the woman you remember. 37 years of hiding changes a person. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling like I was walking through a dream. At the top, I paused outside the second door. I knocked softly. Come in. I opened the door. She was sitting by the window, looking out at the garden. Older, grayer, smaller than I remembered, but unmistakably my mother. She turned when I entered, her eyes filled with tears. Hello, Michael. I couldn't speak. For 37 years, I'd been visiting an empty grave. For 37 years, I'd been mourning someone who was alive. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I wanted to contact you so many times, but it wasn't safe. I sat down in the chair across from her. Why now, after all these years? Why call me now? Because I'm dying. The words hit like a physical blow. What? Pancreatic cancer. I have maybe 2 months. And I couldn't die without seeing you again. Without explaining. So you risked everything. Risked your life, my life, to make a phone call. Her eyes flashed with something that reminded me of the mother I remembered. Strong, stubborn, willing to fight for what mattered. You're my son. You're the only thing that's mattered to me for 37 years. We talked for hours about her life in witness protection, about the new identity she'd been given, about the small apartment in Philadelphia where she'd lived for decades, always looking over her shoulder, always afraid. But also about me, about how she'd followed my life from a distance. College, my wedding, my children, my career. She knew everything. I have photos, she said, pulling out a scrapbook. I clipped every newspaper article about your promotion to district manager. I have pictures of your kids from their school's website. I've been watching you grow up, even if I couldn't be part of it. It was heartbreaking. And beautiful, and devastating all at once. But then Detective Morrison appeared in the doorway. We need to go, now. What's wrong? Vincent Marconi just pulled up outside. Through the window, I could see 2 black SUVs parked across the street. Men in dark suits getting out. How did they find us? Detective Morrison was already helping Mom to her feet. Your Uncle Frank. We've been tracking his calls. He's been giving them real-time updates. Uncle Frank was still betraying us. Even now. There's a back exit through the kitchen, Dr. Harrison said. It leads to the alley. We moved quickly but quietly. Detective Morrison went first, gun drawn. Then Mom, leaning on my arm. Then Dr. Harrison. We made it to the kitchen before we heard the front door explode inward. Nobody move. But it wasn't the FBI. It was Vincent Marconi's men, and they were armed. Detective Morrison pushed us toward the back door. Go. Get to the car. I heard gunshots behind us as we ran into the alley. Detective Morrison's backup agents were engaging Marconi's men. We reached the FBI car just as Vincent Marconi himself appeared in the alley behind us. A man in his 70s, but still dangerous, still angry. After 37 years in prison. Catherine, he called out. You cost me everything. My family, my business, my life. Mom turned around. For the first time in 37 years, she faced the man who'd tried to have her killed. Your family was built on blood money, Vincent. I just made sure people knew it, and now you're going to pay for it. He raised a gun, but before he could fire, Detective Morrison's backup arrived. 3 FBI agents, guns drawn, surrounding Vincent Marconi, dropped the weapon. Vincent looked around, realized he was outnumbered, and lowered his gun. As they arrested him, he looked at Mom one last time. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Mom said. It's finally over. But Vincent was wrong about one thing. It wasn't over. Not yet. 3 days later, I got another phone call. This time, from Uncle Frank. Michael, I heard about what happened in Philadelphia. Frank, I don't want to talk to you. You don't understand. I had to do it. They threatened to kill my grandchildren if I didn't cooperate. You sold out your own sister for money. I sold out my sister to protect my family, just like she sold out the Marconis to protect you. The comparison made me sick. It's not the same thing, isn't it? We all make choices, Michael. Sometimes there are no good choices. There's always a choice between right and wrong. Frank was quiet for a moment. Then Vincent Marconi isn't the only one who wants your mother dead. My blood went cold. What do you mean? There are others. People from the old days. People who lost money when the Marconi operation got shut down. Your mother's testimony destroyed a lot of lives. So even with Vincent in custody, she's still not safe. None of us are safe. I hung up the phone. That night, I drove back to Philadelphia. Mom was staying in a safe house now, under FBI protection. But she looked tired, older than she had just days before. Are you okay? I asked. I will be when this is finally over. Frank called me. He says there are still people who want to hurt you. Mom nodded. I've known that for 37 years. It's why I couldn't come home. Will it ever be over? It is now. Vincent was the last one who really mattered. The others are just echoes. But she was wrong about that too. 2 weeks later, Detective Morrison called me at work. Michael, I need you to get somewhere safe. Now. What's wrong? Your Uncle Frank was found dead this morning. Shot execution style, outside his apartment building. My hands went numb. What? We think someone killed him. To send a message to your mother. They're letting her know that cooperating with us has consequences. Who would do that? We're investigating. But Michael, I need you to understand something. These people don't just go away. They don't forget, and they don't forgive. That night, Mom called me from the safe house. I heard about Frank. She said, I'm sorry. I'm not. Frank made his choices. He betrayed his own family for money. Maybe this is what he deserved. No one deserves to be murdered, don't they? What about the people the Marconis killed? What about the families they destroyed? Frank was part of that world for decades. He knew the risks. I'd never heard Mom sound so cold, so hard. 37 years of hiding had changed her in ways I was only beginning to understand. Are you safe? For now. But Michael, I need you to know something. If something happens to me, if they find me, I don't want you to try to avenge me. I don't want you to spend your life looking over your shoulder like I have. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me. Promise me you'll just let it go. I couldn't promise that. How do you promise to let go of your mother's murder? Mom, promise me, Michael. I promise. But I was lying. 2 months later, Mom passed away in the safe house, not from violence, but from the cancer that had been eating away at her for months. I was holding her hand when she died. Her last words were, don't trust them. Even at the end, she was still warning me. At the funeral, there were only a few of us. Me, Jenny, Detective Morrison, Dr. Harrison. We buried her in a small cemetery outside Philadelphia, under her real name this time. But I couldn't let it go. Frank's murder The threats against Mom, the decades of fear and hiding. Someone had to pay for all of it. I started investigating on my own, following leads the FBI had abandoned, tracking down associates of the Marconi family, who might still be carrying grudges. What I found surprised me. Frank hadn't been killed by mob associates seeking revenge. He'd been killed by someone much closer to home. Someone who'd been planning this for years. Someone who'd known about Mom's location all along. Detective Morrison. I found the evidence in Frank's apartment 3 months after his murder. Financial records showing payments from an offshore account. Phone records showing calls to numbers I'd seen in Detective Morrison's files. For years, Detective Morrison had been feeding information to Vincent Marconi and others. She'd been the one who told them where Mom was living. She'd been the one orchestrating the whole thing. But why? The answer was in her personnel file, which I accessed through a contact at the FBI. Detective Morrison's maiden name was Marconi. She was Vincent's niece. She'd joined the FBI specifically to find my mother. She'd been playing a long game for decades. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. "Your mother destroyed my family," she said. "My uncle spent 37 years in prison because of her testimony. My father lost his business, his reputation, everything. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? You swore an oath to protect people like her. I swore an oath to protect innocent people. Your mother wasn't innocent. She knew exactly what kind of business she was working for. She just got greedy and decided to play hero. So you killed Frank." Frank was a loose end. He was getting nervous, thinking about confessing. "I couldn't let that happen. And my mother, your mother died of cancer. Natural causes. I didn't need to kill her. Time did it for me." But Detective Morrison had underestimated one thing. I'd been recording our conversation. The FBI arrested her the next day. She was charged with murder, conspiracy, and violating her oath as a federal agent. At her trial, the full scope of her betrayal came out. For 15 years, she'd been feeding information to organized crime families, compromising investigations, exposing witnesses, getting people killed. She was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Justice, finally. But it didn't bring back Mom, or Frank, or the 37 years our family lost. I visit Mom's grave every few months now. Her real grave this time. And sometimes I play that voicemail from March 15th, just to hear her voice. "Don't trust them," she'd said. She'd been right about that. The people who should have protected her, her brother, the FBI agent assigned to keep her safe, were the ones who betrayed her. But she'd also taught me something else, something I didn't understand until after she was really gone. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is tell the truth, even when it's dangerous, even when it costs you everything. Mom spent 37 years in hiding because she'd told the truth about what she saw. She'd given up her family, her life, her identity to make sure justice was served. And in the end, that truth outlived all the people who tried to silence it. Vincent Marconi died in prison. Detective Morrison will die in prison. Frank died because he couldn't live with his betrayal. But Mom's truth survived. Her testimony, her courage, her refusal to be silenced. That's her real legacy. Not the decades of hiding, not the fear, not the family that was torn apart by lies and betrayal. Her truth. Now, if this story has left you questioning who you can really trust in your own life, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a comment below and tell me about a time when someone you trusted completely betrayed that trust. And definitely watch my next video, where I tell you about the time I discovered my business partner had been embezzling from our company for 10 years while pretending to be my best friend. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the people who claim to be protecting you are the ones you need to protect yourself from most.